Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
Good morning. We have two matters set for sentencing this morning at 11. Mr. Gibson represents both defendants. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Deborah Davis is here. I won't be saying that too much longer. Not that she won't be here, that her title will be different. But we have a complaining witness here in the Travis Johnson case with our victim staff. So let's do that case first. People versus Travis Marion Johnson. File number is 1874FY. Mr. Johnson, would you come forward? Also present is Matt Huff from the probation department, who drew the difficult task of helping me with a pre-sentence investigation. I don't do too many full PSI reports anymore because it's a extra work for the probation department, but frankly, I didn't know I needed some advice here. I'm also glad that the prosecutor is here. Mr. Johnson's 41 years old, and this is the fourth time he has been convicted of domestic violence. At the third time, it becomes a felony. I believe this was reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor second offense, which I don't have any issue with. But like, what do you do with somebody when you put them on probation 3 times and send them to domestic violence treatment 3 times, and he gets a 4th offense? So Mr. Huff has provided a pre-sentence report with some information and recommendations. Staff from the Victims Services Prosecutors Unit is here. And we have a statement from Ashley Johnson. She's kind of been back and forth here, but I got a recent letter from her this morning. So with all that being said, Mr. Gibson, what would you like me to know?
Mr. Johnson wants to obviously learn from this, and his hope is this will be the last time that he would be before this court. He believes that, and he agrees that his substance abuse problems led him to where he's at now, and he can't continue with this type of behavior. He understands that. He's taken responsibility. I would ask the court to consider, if the court's going to give the defendant jail time, I would ask the court to consider the work release for the defendant. He has a family to support, and so as an alternative to incarceration, I would ask the court to consider probation or community service. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, what's your thought here?
Well, Your Honor, there is a lot of domestic violence charges in his past, both convictions and charges that were later dismissed after being authorized. Can you hear me? Charges that have been dismissed after being authorized.
Oh, so there's even more that I don't even know about?
Yes. And this is from his prior relationship, and then multiple with his current wife. They are going through a divorce that she had filed. The difficulty is always when there are children involved. The children need both of their parents, but they also need to have healthy parents in their lives and have behavior modeled to them that hopes to avoid the domestic violence cycle in the future. So with these two individuals, Ms. Johnson wrote a letter that she wanted the court to take into consideration. She wants him to get help, to be a better person for himself and their children. He does have a job, which is great. He has a fair number of children that are depending on him financially to help support them. But looking at his priors, this goes back to the early 2000s. I pulled one of his old PSIs to see what his punishments had been for these various things. And It was 30 days, it was 60 days, it was 12 days and then a probation. In Although I definitely respect Mr. Huff and his recommendation, I would suggest to the court that perhaps because we've done all of the programming that we have to try to get him to where he needs to be to function in society, that incarceration for the full year as a resident of the Twin County Probation Center would be the most appropriate. Obviously, that would be for the purpose of him doing a work release. My guess is he would get credit for good time, like every other inmate would, and he would actually be out in more like 10 months. But I believe that that sanction is the most appropriate based on his continued history of domestic violence and exhausting all of our efforts with probationary periods.
Thank you. You hear that, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your
Prosecutor thinks I'll lock you up for a year. Your wife has a different view of that, but this was a felony which could have resulted in a prison sentence. Now, underlying both this case and the next case are methamphetamine. I got Ms. Johnson's original letter in October. I believe it was received October 16th. And her concern at that time was, again, the kids. I recommend that he take his meds, parenting class, going to jail is just going to hurt him as he pays child support for me and my 3 kids, his 3 younger kids, with his ex-wife. So her and 3 other kids. I filed for a PPO and a divorce. We have court 1028, and apparently, according to a more recent letter, you are exercising your visitation on your kids, and that impresses me some.
I can't leave my kids out, man. You know,
Well, then you need to align your waterfowl. You need to get your ducks in a row and stop smacking your wife around. The underlying thing is methamphetamine. You're in a meth crash on the couch. She's raising kids. You're out doing I don't know what. She needs help. She's got things to go to, athletic events, house cleaning, that sort of stuff. You're a dead weight on the couch and she tries to wake you up. And you contend that she started it and that made her mad because she said absolutely not. It was him. So then she was on the other side of the fence. It's like, well, maybe we ought to just lock him up. Then today's letter. Yes.
May I add something from this incident? When reviewing the police report, the digital evidence, there was concern that there had been a handgun that Mr. Johnson had access to, that Ms. Johnson found in the home or the other occupants. And obviously that's very concerning because 1, he's a prior felon, he should not have a firearm in his possession. 2, the escalation of domestic violence that has occurred over the past 20 years of him having these incidents and using methamphetamine, it's very concerning to me that this could end up very poorly if he isn't under some sort of strict supervision, which I think can be afforded by Twin County. And if parenting time is happening, I'm not sure what Twin County's rules are now, but they used to allow, kids to visit their parents in that setting. Obviously, it's not ideal for the kids to see their father in that, but it's, I suppose, better than in green and white stripes behind a glass on a phone, as far as that goes. But again, methamphetamine, firearms, domestic violence, and a continued pattern of domestic violence, even with the probation and doing the classes, I have a strong concern that this could end up very poorly. So I just wanted the court to be aware.
All right, I don't think I saw the police report. I don't know anything about a gun. I was looking at it wasn't on the original complaint.
No gun was found on him. He left the scene prior to the police being there. Ms. Johnson told the police that she's not sure if he has it. I believe that she had said he needed, when it was found in the home, her position was this needs to not be here. I believe she's a CPL holder, but knowing that he's not to have firearms and it wasn't hers. I don't know what happened to that firearm, but it was not ever recovered.
All
to my
right, well, there
knowledge.
was no allocation of a gun here, but in addition, when we talked about a prison, they charge you as a fourth of habitual offender. So if they kept this case in circuit court, it's unlikely you would have gone to prison, but if you get another one of these, you're probably gonna go to the Department of Corrections. You're only 41, so you need to change your,
My plan is to move closer to my job, Your Honor.
all right, well, that might be a plus. So you heard what the prosecutor said. How do you respond to that?
I had no firearm, no gun.
Well, that's good. Anything else you want to say?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, it is in the affidavit. Travis has been seen with a gun. Ashley stated it's a pistol and he had it concealed in his waistband. It wasn't clear. He has also participated in other behaviors such as slashing her car tires and breaking things. Your daughter's the one that actually called the police. Ms. Johnson, some of this is in the petition for the personal protection order. I've got your letter here. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me?
No, I know with the pistol, that was Isabella who called the cops and said he had one when he didn't. Because yes, prior he did have it, but a couple weeks before he got rid of it, because like she said, I'm a CPL carrier. I don't play like that, like,
All right.
get rid of it, don't bring it to my house.
So it wasn't anywhere around on this
No.
occasion?
No.
All right, I'm gonna read what you wrote to me. The last page. It is hard raising 4 kids on your own, so when he takes them, I can get some stuff done. Putting him in jail or in the center will destroy my kids because they look forward to seeing their dad, and my older ones look forward to having him at their wrestling practice. I would like to suggest maybe keeping him on a tether, have him do the anger management classes, or put him back on his medications to help him. I just don't want my kids to go without their dad, especially with the holidays here. If the tether isn't an option, maybe every other weekend with the tether on. I just want everyone to know it took us to separate for him to be an amazing dad for our kids. That's a sad commentary. So she doesn't want you to go to jail for the sake of the kids. Prosecutor wants you to go for a whole year. So Mr. Huff has prepared the pre-sentence report and he also has a recommendation. Mr. Huff, anything else you'd like to tell me?
At the risk of sounding redundant, I want to emphasize the criminal history. I think that's where I arrived at the outcome that I did for an extensive stay at Twin County Probation Center. Reformation of the offender is obviously a primary sentencing guideline or sentencing factor rather. But as has been mentioned before, I just don't think probation is the answer here. It wasn't the answer the first 3 times around, and I don't think it is now.
Well, plus the felony probations.
Yeah, plus the felony probation that he just got off in July of last year. I will draw attention to the letters as should be from his work. He has 4 letters from work and 1 from Salvation Army, which it looks like he works through volunteers through Salvation Army with his work. So obviously, it sounds like, given the letter that was issued today by Ms. Johnson and the other documents that we have, that Mr. Johnson is on the upswing. That doesn't take away the fact that we still have to worry about, what happens if Travis goes back to his old ways, which could very likely be reality. So that's why I fashioned the recommendation to be some sort of confinement rather than probation. I just don't think that reformation of the offender is all that relevant. I did speak with Twin County Probation Center. There's that available should the court choose to utilize that option today. They could have them in as soon as tomorrow, or I'm sorry, as soon as tonight. They could have them over to the probation center, and then if granted work release, then he could take care of that. And I also want to emphasize too, it's not just that you have 5 or 6 kids or 4 kids in this case that you're paying child support on, and that you kind of get leniency from the court. But obviously, this is the criminal justice system, and I think that it's relevant to take that into account I think if Mr. Johnson does straight jail, loses this job, which appears to be getting him on a better trajectory in life, well, I think we have better odds of him going back to where he doesn't want to be. So that's why I fashioned the kind of the hybrid rule there with the Twin County Probation Center sentence. That's pretty much all I have for you.
In January, I'm going to be at new judge school again, teaching sentencing. And we use some scenarios for the new judges and say, what would you do in this situation? This might be a perfect case to get the opinion of a room full of new and maybe relatively new judges. What's the right answer? There is no single one right answer. But as Mr. Huff said, having a bunch of kids doesn't get you a get out of jail free card. At some point, there has to be some sort of consequence. By the time you end up paying child support on your kids with Angela and your ex-kids, you probably have about $2 left. It is a cost to be at the probation center. The other option is just put you in jail. Then you could be a trustee and get additional good time. But then they don't get any payment and you lose your job. I'm gonna follow Mr. Huff's recommendation. I'm gonna do a probation because I can't alter the matter without a probation. So I'm gonna do a 12-month probation. I'm gonna order 90 days jail, credit 1, giving 89 days to serve, which may be served at Twin County Probation Center.
Your Honor, is your intent to keep him on probation after serving the 90-day?
No,
So then I believe statute dictates that early discharge is not an option with domestic violence with previous convictions. So the term of his probation, we set it for 12 months, has to be served at 12 months. We can set it to whatever confines you like, but
my intention was to would consider discharge from probation at the end of his sentence.
it's my understanding that the 2021 legislature took away the ability to.
All right, well,
reduce
then we
the
may be
terms.
stuck with it, but if I don't place him on probation, I can't
Do
alter
you want
the
to do
sentence.
a 90-day probation or 120-day probation?
Let's try that. 120-day probation. If he walks away from the center, I can't alter the sentence.
Right.
I believe it is the term of jail, he could be charged with escape, though.
He could,
But I mean, obviously recommend you don't do that.
yes.
Your Honor, I'm not leaving the center.
All right, well, the center is gonna be good for you. I've got some people in there right now I'm working with on another case. There's no fine, there's no sense of that.
I talked to Ken earlier. He said, have someone call him from here, and maybe that he could just come here and pick me up.
Yeah, that's the plan, if they're here. Otherwise, you're gonna go to jail and get booked in and get picked up from there. I'm gonna assign the attorney fee. Mr. Gibson's earned it here, and it's not even close to what the actual cost is. $225. I'm gonna not do any probation oversight fee because we're not gonna be doing much oversight. But no assaultive or threatening behavior, no drugs and no alcohol. Comply with probation center rules. Ms. Johnson, this is the best I can do. It's in between a year in jail and a pat on the head with a tether. There's a consequence, and at some point, if it keep hitting you in the head, maybe you'll realize it hurts and stop doing what you're doing. But your wife deserves better than this, and so do your kids, and so do you. So you're gonna go to jail. Hopefully they'll get you to the center today and you can be back to work tomorrow.
I got today off because we had our Christmas party yesterday at the Learning Center in Elkhart.
Did you take your kids?
No, there was no kids allowed.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Johnson, I hope, maybe this will make it better and you guys can get to a better place because you're still connected to each other by your kids. But hopefully we can make this work. All right, sir, you're good to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Dale, would you come up, please?
I want the short one, I want hers.
No, I gotta have those receipts.
Daniel, you still got a hitch in your giddy up there?
A little bit. Not getting any younger.
No, I get out of this chair after sitting like this, I'm gonna shape, they bury me, then I have to have a chair shaped casket, because that'll be my position my body's molded into.
Thanks.
Yeah, fine.
Go ahead and have a seat, sir. Well, that's interesting. Daniel, have you seen these?
Yes, I just saw this
Okay.
a few minutes ago.
All right, this is another tough case, and Daniel Frazine drew the short straw on this one. And once again, Deborah Davis is here. This is the title of the case is People versus Bryant James Dale, 241686. On June 25th, Mr. Dale crashed into a utility pole in the city of Three Rivers. Unfortunately, he didn't kill himself. He had a 0.142 blood alcohol and he'd been using methamphetamine. The matter was reduced to a charge of operating while intoxicated and use of methamphetamine. The defendant went to the hospital. He did work at Elkhart Auto Supervision or something. I'm not sure what the status of that is. Anyway, we got a sentence on both of those charges. And Daniel has prepared a pre-sentence report. Mr. Gibson, once again, is here with his client. Mr. Gibson, what would you like me to know?
Mr. Dale spent a large portion of his young adulthood in prison for a serious conviction back in 2003. The defendant has been out of prison for, it looks like according to the report, it says since 2017. I don't know if that's when he was released from parole. Okay, that sounds like that's when he was released from parole. But the defendant recognizes that he had gotten involved with methamphetamine, and that was a big mistake. And it led to him getting into this accident and now being here today. I think the defendant very much was, I guess you could say this was a serious wake-up call. The defendant, he does not want this. He understands that he wants his criminal past to be his past, and he obviously is now facing a new situation. And so the defendant took this very seriously. He assures me that he's been able to maintain his sobriety since the day of this incident back in June. the defendant has been, he's been doing some substance abuse treatment, it sounds like through a church and through a pastor. And he's definitely willing to do whatever it takes. It sounds like that the recommendation from the probation department, I would ask the court to consider following the recommendation. The defendant needs to be put on probation. This is the first type of drug conviction of the defendant. He may actually be eligible for 7411. I don't know if it's that, going to make much of a difference if he keeps a drug conviction off of his record. But I do think that the defendant is taking this situation very seriously, and I do think he's been very genuine about his honesty about his substance abuse issues. And so I'm asking the court to sentence the defendant to probation. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Davis, you have any input on this one?
Yes, Your Honor. Apparently the lab report from the blood test that came into the office around the end of September never made it to Mr. Frazine. So I just showed him that and confirmed that the defendant did have what I think is a fairly significant amount of amphetamine and methamphetamine in his blood at the time. So in addition to that 0.132 blood alcohol, there was greater than 300 nanograms.
Which I believed is why the prosecutor held the line at OUIL as opposed to an impaired.
There are not notes, I don't believe about that.
But I don't, anyway, that was just my supposition, because usually a 1.3 would be a reduced. And so they held the line at an OUIL charge. So maybe they were aware and somehow we sort of surmised it.
And with that, I did review briefly the letter and see that he attended one Celebrate Recovery, which is a great start. My concern is from the letter, it seems like he might still be struggling with substances. I'm not certain if he's been doing any testing or has been asked to test while he's on bond. That's always a concern when there's methamphetamine involved. So scoring out his guideline 23 to 31 days in jail. He did 3 days and then got a PR bond. I certainly support the 24-month probation. Definitely the alcohol and drug screening at the discretion of the probation officer. I would ask that the court consider drug testing him today. And if there is anything illegal in his system, that would certainly indicate to me that maybe more punishment instead of just deferring all the extra days of jail might be appropriate in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dale, what would you like to tell me?
I'm all for getting tested, honestly, Your Honor. I've been clean ever since the incident, so I have nothing to hide.
Well, you look good. You can often tell when someone walks in the door whether they're going to test positive or not.
Yeah.
You look clear-eyed and clear-headed and clean cut. But this was a bad day. I think I asked you, and I couldn't find in my notes, where were you going? You lived out on M60, and I don't know how you ended up on Broadway Street.
At the time, I had an argument with my previous girlfriend, and honestly, I was just trying to get away from the situation.
So you didn't have a specific
I didn't have a
destination?
specific. I was just trying to get away, and I was driving to kind of cool off because of the argument that we were having. I didn't feel that it was appropriate for me to continue to be there.
Probably wise, but it's hard to argue with someone that's under the influence of meth, and then you were actually asleep or passed out when the police got there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any pictures, but I think it did some significant damage to your cars.
It totaled it. Yeah.
Well, then, Mr. Coburn says, I met Mr. Bryant late last spring when he showed up at church because he felt he had nowhere to turn. Was that before this accident in June or after that?
It was after the incident. I had already felt the need that a lot of stuff weighed on me heavily, and so I understood that I needed help, and so I needed someone to talk to. And,
So we got the Church of the Nazarene, and then we got Pastor Jerry and Destiny Church. This is the first time you went to celebrate on Sunday, December 6th?
I tried to go the previous day or the previous week, but due to it being the holidays and some people couldn't show up, I wasn't able to attend the previous week.
Well, I guess it's a good start. Pastor Jerry, as your sponsor, would be a good place to start. Tell me about, you say your ex-girlfriend, so you're not in the relationship with this lady anymore?
No, to be honest, I am actually involved in a case with the Cass County prosecutor. She had set me up and I was robbed.
So
And I
you're,
was- I
you're a
was-
victim in a case in Cass
Yeah,
County?
they stole my car, my wallet, my phone, and I was shot at.
When was this?
That was in August, I believe it was August. And so I'm working with the Cass County prosecutor. When it comes to that case, the person that shot at me is currently incarcerated or in the Cass County jail right now.
Well, I'm glad you're here to relate the story. Again, Daniel did a very thorough report here. Daniel, you got anything else to add?
Well, I spoke with Mr. Dale, and I believe he was pretty forthcoming, even though I did not have the results of the meth. He said he probably would have had meth in his system because when he did use meth, there was times he'd be up for 2 or 3 days. He did say that he was introduced to meth from his ex-girlfriend, and it's one of the other reasons why she's now an ex. I think he's on a pretty good path. Obviously with meth, there's concerns, and I don't think you could just say, hey, here's a few days in jail and be gone with something like meth. And there was a very serious accident. I mean, not only did he endanger his own life, he's like he didn't electrocute himself, but obviously any first responders that responding to a pull down were in danger. So he was very thankful about that. But he didn't really sugarcoat anything. He told me about the meth use. Told me he really didn't remember what was going on. I applauded him for leaving the situation, and I said, but however, getting into a vehicle, I mean, if he would have walked away, would have been a much better way. And he said, well, obviously, but he was really out of it. He doesn't remember most of it, so he couldn't relay a lot of facts. He just remembers being charged and basically waking up later on. He said he didn't have any place to go. He just wanted to get out of the situation. So it's all been pretty consistent with what he's telling me. Obviously a very serious situation. So I do think the 24 months is recommended, which if he does well, he can get done in 12 months. And I do think some mandatory substance abuse treatment, as well as mandatory 12-step program, which he's more than willing to do. Obviously, we might see a little bit more than 1 or 2 classes. And we talked about that, but he's very willing to do it. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Where do you live now?
I live just in Jones.
Still the M60 address?
Yes.
So the girlfriend's gone, but you're still there?
Yeah, the X is gone.
Ex
Yeah.
gone, yes.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
absolutely.
actually in Cass County, but
Yes.
close enough to make all this work. I'll take it your word. We'll do some testing once we get you in here. But I'm gonna do the probation on the methamphetamine charge. Now, one other problem is you're gonna lose your driver's license. Are you aware of that?
Yes. I didn't know if there's any way I could get restricted, but if not.
Not under the way the plea was done. If they had taken a plea to impaired, it would have allowed a restricted license. But they didn't. So the district court doesn't have discretion to give you a license.
Okay.
Unless you're in sobriety court, and I don't think we're ready for that yet. But on the operating while intoxicated, I'm gonna give you 3 days credit, 3 days concurrent with the use of meth. no fines and costs in that case. And do the probation in the other case. You seem to be in a better state of mind here today. I got the same impression. When I talked to you at the time of the plea, you just owned it. You didn't, like the last guy said, well, my wife hit me first. I don't believe that's true. He tried to minimize it and put off some of the blame on somebody else. You just took it all. I am gonna do a 7411 probation, which would at least allow you to take the methamphetamine charge off your record if you complete it. Have you ever been charged with any drug offense?
No.
You're eligible for this probation. I'm gonna follow Daniel's recommendation. I'm gonna up it, since I'm doing it on the methamphetamine charge. I'm gonna order 63 days jail credit 3. Of the 63 days ordered, 60 are deferred. I'm hanging this jail over your head. Fine is 0. There's a $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee, $150 police reimbursement, attorney fee, $960 probation oversight fee. Theoretically, you could do this in 1 year. There's a $255 police reimbursement. There's $32 for the victim impact panel. I'm going to recommend substance abuse counseling and treatment as directed by the probation department. No drugs and no alcohol, including marijuana, and test as directed. I would like you to continue with support group. Your license will be hard suspended for a period of time, and then you'll be eligible for restricted license. No driving unless licensed. Now, yeah, there's 2 judgments. That's all right. I like this letter. The fact that you just got in under the wire with Celebrate for our sentence here this morning is impresses me less. But if you stay plugged into it, you'll make some friends, you'll get some peace of mind, and maybe get your sobriety. So Daniel, you need this. All right, you go with Mr. Friesen and he'll get plugged into that probation. Thank you all for being here. All right, we'll be back after lunch with our landlord-tenant docket.
2 hours later.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're about to start our afternoon docket. We have a number of landlord-tenant matters, a couple of general civil matters, some discovery matters, and some small claims matters. I have not stuck any sentences at the end of the day, which is good because I have some things to wrap up. So we should be starting here in just a few minutes. I'll let this run for just a moment. Good afternoon, Motorola G Stylus. Which case are you here on?
Memory Lanes,
All right, what's your name?
Kelly Bice.
All right, Ms. Bice, let me give you a proper name here. You're in the right place. You're a little early, but that's fine.
I like to be early.
Yeah, that's a good practice. All right, stick with me. I'm gonna bring other people in now.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bush.
Hello, Judge.
Thank you for those judgments. Your tenant, Kelly Bice, is here. She was early. I have already advised her of her rights as a tenant, and she got to watch one case. So we'll call it Memory Lane Mobile Home Park versus Kelly Bice. Ms. Bice is present. Manager Chris Corpening is here. Meg Bauer from Legal Aid is here, and Attorney John Bush is here on behalf of the park. Rent here through December is $3,000. Is that correct, Mr. Bush?
That's based upon a payment earlier this month, yes.
Ms. Bice, what's your response?
I lost my job and I had to find a new one, and it was hard finding a new job in Sturgis. And I
Where were
finally
you
found
working?
one, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Where's your new job?
I went to Wings of Cedra.
We'll call that a lateral transfer.
It,
You stayed in the wing department.
I
All right,
did.
well, you heard me discuss this with the last gentleman. Mr. Bradshaw is very proactive about conditional order of dismissal, but I think we might need to set this. Now, John, I wrote down that the rent was 1,000 a month. You got it at 950.
Those are my notes. We could confirm that with Chris.
Let me look here. What's in the complaint is 900, is 1,000 a month. I think it's lot and trailer.
Yeah, Sharona, that includes her pet fees as well.
All right, so it's 950. Oh, so he's got the pet fees down in another spot. Okay. So 950 and then 4 months of pet fees and late fees.
That's correct.
So the
Judge.
total would be 3,540. Ms. Bice, you agree with that?
Yeah.
Have you asked for any assistance?
I have not. I tried through Keystone, but they're not doing that anymore.
No, during COVID, Keystone was our housing advocate.
Yeah.
And they had lots of money and people got their rent paid and the landlords were made whole. That money has all disappeared. We have a much more limited pool of money from the agencies that I gave you, DHS, Community Action Agency, or Neighborhood Inc. And I would encourage you to contact them between now and next Monday, because I'm gonna also continue this.
But I've been paying every week ever since I got a job, so
Well, that's, great. It shows here that you made a 400 payment, 400 payment.
I was gonna go today to pay her too.
John, you're already here.
I'm pretty flexible next Monday afternoon. You already had me for a number of them.
Yeah, you're here on the Wolf case at 1:35. Whoops. And V squared. So yeah, I've got you anyway. Let's go to 1:30. We're gonna be
That's
kind
fine,
of
Judge.
tight. December 16th. Now, Miss Bice, your landlord knows this because she's done it for a long time. They don't have to evict you. Now, if they get what they ask for, we'll still be in the same month. You would owe a total of $3,540. That's rent, lot rent, court costs, pet fees, and late fees. And theoretically, if you don't pay it, you would be subject to being evicted 10 days after next Monday. That would be December 26th. However, they can agree to work with you for up to 56 days on some sort of plan to get the rent repaid, and even another 56 days before they serve the writ of eviction. So there is some flexibility for good tenants. Now, you've been making payments all along, which shows good faith on your part. Also, it's hard to move a good tenant out and move another one in, but I would strongly encourage you to contact Neighborhood Inc. or Community Action Agency. And the problem is they're hard to get a hold of. They don't have very much money left. They're not staffed very well. I don't think they're there all day, every day. But I would encourage you to see if you can get some emergency help that may help both you and your landlord. So you did a good job of logging in early and in the right place. We'll do this again next Monday at 1:30. Is that agreeable with you?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Not that I'm certain of. Just hopefully I
right.
can pay it off.
All right, stay in contact with your manager is what I tell everybody also. All right, you're good to go.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. This is Farm Bureau versus Dustin Baldwin. Mr. Keith Cox is here for about the fourth time today on this case. Mr. Baldwin was here in a timely manner. Similar to the last case, a judgment was obtained in the neighborhood of $2,050.64 plus costs in an attempt to collect on this debt. Plaintiffs were pursuing garnishments. The defendant has indicated the current balance is about 66.28. I'm not sure whether that's accurate or not. He's offering to pay $40 per week on that balance. He's working at Precision Wire in Three Rivers. Mr. Keith Cox is here. Mr. Cox, what's your position?
Well, Judge, we didn't object to the entry of an order for $40 a week, and I'm not here to object to that this afternoon either. I guess I would give the court a little bit of background. Back in the summertime in July, we had pulled Mr. Baldwin's driver's license. This judgment originated from an uninsured motorist claim, which then gives plaintiff the right on an unpaid judgment to do such a thing. So that happened. Mr. Baldwin paid $300 down and was going to pay $25 a week at that time. The $300 payment was made. However, the first $25 payment was rejected. NSF on the auto pay that he had set up. This was in early August. Looks like that was attempted to be remedied in early September by paying $125. And that again was dishonored. Looks like my office sent out a letter, no response to the letter, and that prompted the garnishment sometime in mid-October. So that's sort of where I see is the chronology of how we got here. But I don't think we were against $25 a week back at the time or whatever, but now at $40.
Has money been recovered with the garnishment?
We have received some money from the garnishment. To date, we've gotten, looks like 3 withholdings. We received $133.93 November 14th. And these typically lag behind the dates they're actually taken out, of course. We've got November 20th, we got $130.62. And on November 27th, we got $133.92. So somewhere between $130 and $133, it looks like per week.
All right. So that's substantial, Mr. Baldwin. You found out that, first of all, you got your license suspended. There are certain kinds of cases, not very many, that allow them to do that. So they suspended your license after they got the judgment. You must have been driving without insurance. Well, then they did a repayment agreement and it didn't work out.
Yeah, well, see, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm trying to get this taken care of, and I was really trying to do the payments. I set up an auto pay. I called them. I reached out to them. They didn't reach out to me. I reached out to them. I told them that I needed to get my license back. I needed to know what I had to do in order to get it that. They said you have to pay a minimum, and they gave me the minimum. I paid $300 on that, and then I set up auto direct pay on my card. For some reason, the card was declined, the auto pay, and the whole time I wasn't paying no mind to it because I had other things set up on my card to auto pay. So I was seeing where money was coming off my card. I had a money issue later on, so I was looking through there and I noticed where the $25 a week wasn't coming out, like it wasn't a consistent $25 a week. So I reached out to him and I told him, hey, I noticed that there's that the $25 a week isn't coming out, and they said, yeah, yeah, so they said, yeah, the payments, the auto pay was declined. So then I agreed to pay that. What the payments that I missed, it was like 5 or 6 weeks or whatever. I told them, well, go ahead and take the $125 off my card. I gave them my card information, and they got my routing and accounting number from my card. So I don't understand why whenever
Well, they were declined, but you
Yeah.
proposed to pay $40 a month,
a
$40 a week. Can you do that?
Yes, Your Honor, I can. And like I was hearing what you was telling the other guy, taking a wage assignment or a work to my work.
Yes, we'll try that.
Yeah,
All right,
and
I'm gonna do $40 per week, starting January 3rd. 2025. That would be my suggestion. You go to your HR department. Now they've got precision spelled wrong here. It's precision. It's PRECISSION, precision, rather than prestigion. But we know what it is, what may change it. So you're going to pay $40 per week. By my calculation, the 300 you paid plus the 3 garnishments total $698.47. As Mr. Cox indicated, sometimes there's a lag. There may be another garnishment that's already been served. I don't know that, but this will stay any further garnishment of your wages.
Okay.
And I would suggest you go to the HR department. I'll send you this order, $40 per week to Susan Winter's office. And your license is not suspended, and that's a plus.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
all right,
tend to verify
$40
that.
per week starting January 3rd will do wage assignment. Do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor. I just, man, I had all the best intentions, man. I went through some legal issues, man, and I went to prison, and I had to go get myself right, and I'm out now, and I'm in this hole, and it's really hard to really come back from that when you don't even have the money to even go get a license, because like I have got to pay for my gas to get to and from work. I do not I have to pay my rent. I do not get food stamps or insurance. So I got to pay my insurance. I got to supply my own food, because they said I'm just past the threshold.
All right. Are you on parole now?
Yes, I am. I'm still on parole. I've worked the same job for 12 months. I had the best intentions.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Baldwin. You're looking pretty good.
Yeah,
and you're trying to do
for
this.
sure.
Now, you live out at the little trailer park on Withers Road?
Nope. I've moved since then. Well, I had an issue. The person I was staying out there, and I wasn't getting my mail. Like I ordered all new cards. I lost my wallet. I had to get all new cards.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have anything but bad news, you wouldn't have any news.
It's
So
bad,
you're not living in Bronson, are you?
No, I'm on West Michigan Avenue and
Well, let me put you in a breakout room with Mr. Cox so you can give him your current address and phone number and contact information. But I take you at your word, Mr. Baldwin. You look pretty good. You've been working there for a year. What shift are you on?
Second shift. They're moving me back to first shift though, here in a couple weeks.
All right. Well, go in to see Mr. Lillywhite at HR, whoever's in charge of this, and set up a wage assignment. I'm going to put you in what's called a breakout room with Mr. Cox, so you can give your address.
That Your Honor noted his license wasn't suspended. That's what I'm showing too. We did file an abstract, and we did a release of that, I think, in July. And I don't see that we filed another one, because sometimes we will if the payments stop. I just want to make sure that's not the case here. I think we did the withdrawal.
Mr. Baldwin, as far as you know, is your license not suspended?
As far as I know, my license was lifted.
I think that's right. I just wanted to make sure, because I was looking through this really carefully, and I was a little surprised, because oftentimes when payments don't come in, they'll pull the license again. But it looks like we did the withdrawal in July, but never did another one. We just did the garnishment. So, okay, very good. Then I'll be
All
happy
right.
to speak with Mr. Baldwin in the breakout room.
Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. Just click the button that says join.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you.
2 hours later.
All right, Miss Rohr, would you come up right up here? You're the plaintiff. Right on this side.
Okay, thank you. May I sit?
Yes. All right, I try to keep all these straight in my head. There's 7 of them. Let me sure I got this one right. All right, this one, I'll click it up here, has to do with the sale of a pickup camper trailer. You're Dallas Rohr.
Yes,
Would you please raise your right hand?
sorry.
You're all right. You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
I do.
All right. And you live out on Lutz Road,
Yes, sir.
and you advertise for sale a camper trailer, which looked pretty nice. It's $2,500.
Yes.
She paid you $500 down, and then she made several payments on it.
Yes, sir. There was an amend to it, though. She could not find somebody, and I sent you the text messages.
Yes.
And she could not find somebody to move it. Now, to move something that big, it's a real pain.
Well, where is it now?
Wherever she took it
All right,
to.
so eventually she did move it.
Yes,
Well, didn't she just put a truck under it and drive it out?
you can't just do it with the 4,000-pound camper like that. It has to have tie down.
Well, that somehow she moved it away from there.
I was told, hearsay only, that they put it on the back of Ford F-150 and used tie downs around and around and around and around.
All right, well, there's a picture of it, and then she posts on her Facebook, hey, I bought a camper, and it looks pretty nice. So she paid $2,500 at $50 a week until paid off. And then there's a receipts for several weeks worth of payment.
Yes, but if you look at the first receipt, it is $3,500 is the total cost of the camper.
All right, let me
She added $1,000 for me to set it up and deliver it, lift it, deliver it, and set it up. That's why the first receipt says
All right,
$3,500.
but you didn't do those things, so it was just
Yeah, I did.
$2,500. Oh,
No, I
you?
did do it.
All right,
Matter of fact, I've got a picture of my truck under it and how I left it.
all right. Well, she's not here to argue about it. So you're asking for $2,650, is that
Yes.
correct? Now, her sister called several times and expressed that she had some health problems. And I thought the sister was going to be here. But the fact that you have health problems does not mean you don't owe a debt. And I did not excuse them. I told them they had to be here.
Well, it started with her father text messaging me that she was in the hospital and this and that. And I told him, it's nothing personal. It's business. We had a business arrangement. She needs to honor it. Well, he said when she gets out of the hospital, she'll start picking up payments. So I let it go for 4 weeks. Found out she'd been out of the hospital, and that's when she moved the camper. And my husband drove by to see if the camper was still there.
Well, was it on a truck or it was just set up someplace?
The way I left it, it was just gonna be set up.
So they're gonna live in a camper without a truck under it?
Well, if you start with the original text, she texted me, her and her, I guess, grandbaby, adopted grandbaby, were living in tents.
Hmm.
And that's what caught my heart.
I've been poor. I've been dirt floor poor, living in a church bus growing up. So my heart went out to them, and I did not want to see that baby, you know, in that condition come winter. And as you've seen, we just had a winter blast.
We all saw it.
So my heart went out, and she's like, will you take payments? I'm like, I talked to my husband. He's like, do your conscience. And so instead of selling it to the guy that was supposed to come get it, I called her and told her, you know what? I'll give you a chance.
Well, this goes under the category of no good deed goes unpunished.
For sure.
At any rate, boy, where did she have it set up?
On Middleton Road.
And what was that? Was that an empty lot or what?
No,
was it?
there's a house on the lot. It belonged to her daughter's husband's friend. And I'm like, well, why can't you just live in that? Well, even the guy himself said, I don't want her in that house.
Well, as you know, most zoning prohibits people from just putting a extra camper on a piece of property and living on it. But at any rate, the medical stuff that her sister sent, I can't even read it, the print's so small, but I was not under the understanding that she was in the hospital at this time. And they were advised to be here and we would discuss it. Well, they aren't here. And as I said, a mental health problem isn't a defense to a civil debt. Might be in a criminal case or in other contexts, but not in this case. So I find by default, and as I advised, they called several times today, and each time the advice was be here for the hearing. And make sure they didn't come in by Zoom while we're talking. I have an
Well,
interpreter
according
here.
to the last text I got from her sister was they weren't going to be here.
All right,
Because
well,
her
they're not.
sister's been harassing me through texts.
Good afternoon, Vivian.
Good afternoon.
Which case are you here on?
The recently added Sebastian Lopez Jimenez case? If I got the wrong courtroom?
I think so. Let me look.
Oh, it says Judge Patterson. Okay, my bad.
All right, well, that's the third time it happened to me today. He's much better looking, but his case is set for today, 2 o'clock, it says.
Okay, I'll scoot in
All right,
there.
thanks. Okay, you're
Thanks.
right. I'll see you soon. All right. Anyway, I'm gonna issue a default in the amount of $2,650 plus 86.25 for a total of $2,736.25. I forgot her sister's name. Is it Shasta?
I don't know.
All right, but her sister advised you they would not be coming.
Yes. It
Now,
says,
does this camper have a title?
campers that sit in the back of a truck bed they don't have titles. They have bill of sales. It doesn't have an engine or an axle, so.
I guess at some point you could even try to repossess this thing, but probably you don't want it. All right, she owes you $2,736.25. I'll give you the same advice as I gave to the last gentleman. If they don't pay the debt within 30 days, that you seek a discovery subpoena to discover her ability to pay on the debt.
Well, I know she just got a brand new car.
Well,
Just after they took off with the camper, they got a brand new car.
I don't know anything about any of that, but she owes you $2,736.25. We also have that Christy Benton case set again for today. Did they ever get service on her? We'll check on that. Why don't you go out to the counter? She'll give you a copy of that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
All right, well, like I said, that's why I'm here. Alternate service by posting, so we do have it, but no one's here from Aaron's.
No, that's surprising to me too.
All right, thank you, Deputy Bingaman.
You're welcome.
How late did your party go Friday night?
I think we got done cleaning up. Shoot, I don't know.
2 a.m.?
I wasn't that late. It was late though.
Was it really?
Midnight, 12:30-ish.
I was asleep by then. His dad retired as undersheriff. They had a nice little retirement party. All right, I believe that finishes our day.